Welcome to another edition of the eSpot with Camille. The eSpot is your location for the latest in entertainment, beauty, and design from the people who make it. Thanks for joining.
Can't, not yet. Yeah, there's an age range where you want to be like, do you know who this is?
It recognizes you, like even if you're like giving a McDonald's order or wherever you may go, where they're like, "Wait, you sound no."
It's so rare. I think it's happened maybe a handful of times in my life, and it's usually somebody who, because I always say this, in the world of entertainment, you've got you've got movies, video games, and all that stuff. Once you start delving into, and obviously celebrities get a lot of attention because we see them and we know them from the way they look and all of that. When you start getting into voiceover and that kind of thing, it's like you have to start getting into a very, very small slice of that pie where it's like, I love video games so much, I want to follow the people who voice act. Who voice act. I've never been around a microphone before. I don't know how these work. Yeah.
I'm assuming
Yeah, exactly. It's and so it's such a small sliver of people that would be, I like video games enough to follow the people who voice act in them, then to know them, like I guess beyond just like like certain game characters, that kind of thing. So it's one of those things. So I always laugh. But the age range for kids, understanding that an adult can have this as a job, probably around maybe 8 to 10. You start getting into that. Oh, okay, I see how this works. That's a person that's doing the voice of what was a cartoon character that I really like, that kind of thing. So yeah, anything younger, and I'm always like, duh.
So how did you even get started into voice acting? Because like you said, a lot of kids may dream of this dream job of being able to have all the perks of a celebrity, but still have your privacy. So how did you get into it?
I was honestly, my gosh, I was doing, oh gosh, I guess I've always been on a weird journey, as everyone, but I was doing like children's musical theater, like as a little kid, like through junior high. In high school, I did theater arts. Got out of high school, I was going to be a drummer. Then that obviously worked out really well. I found myself doing stand-up comedy and did that for about 5 years, professionally for about 5 years, professionally, trying to just scrape by and make money as best you can. But then I started going to college towards the end of my stand-up work. And at that point, I was already 25, matriculating into my final 2 years of college. So a little bit older. And there, I just thought, you know what, I'm doing, excuse me, I'm doing stand-up comedy. I'm going to go ahead and do writing as my major for film school. And I thought, well, I'll just be a writer. But I was doing voices and characters in my stand-up act. And as I got further along in stand-up, I had more and more people within the industry asking me about who represents you for voiceover. Oh, you sound like you have a radio voice. Are you doing that? Do you do radio or that kind of? Be like, how's that work? And then finally, we were trying out. It was towards the end of my career. We were trying out for the Aspen Comedy Festival, and it was a showcase event. And we were performing in front of the audience. The show ends. The audience leaves. We get back up on stage. The woman that was there to evaluate us goes down and critiques you, like in front of your peers. It was a really invaluable experience. But she gets to me and doesn't say anything about my stand-up comedy. She just goes, "Who represents you for voiceover?" And I was like, nobody. And she goes, "Oh, you do so many characters and voices. I thought you were a cartoon guy." And then she just moved on. She said nothing about my stand-up. And I'm like, okay, that's an industry professional saying, "What are you doing here? You sound like you should be over there." And so I finally was just like, okay, I've heard this enough times. I'm going to go look into it. Called a bunch of agencies in LA. I was living in Orange County at the time. Called a bunch of agencies in LA. And was like, "What do you guys look for? How does this work?" And they're like, "Take some classes, cut a demo, get some work, and then let us know what you think. And it's, let us listen."
So you started off with like doing, like you said, comedy and so on. But I'm curious for you because I recently took a class, and one of the big things was like being able to stay in character, like the longevity of even that. So you've done like an entire movie, as well as we were talking off air a little bit, like even doing commercials. That's quick 30 seconds or 15 seconds. But doing a whole movie, how do you maintain that voice? How do you feel like you've gotten to do it for so long, and especially as a voice actor?
I honestly don't know. I mean, obviously, when it comes to you having done something and then going back in to do it again later on or years later, that kind of thing, they play you what they call reference files. So they go, "Here's where you were at, here's what you were doing." And inevitably, it's always going to, my gosh, as we age or change, or just the damage you can do to your voice doing a bunch of different screaming, yelling video game characters, that kind of thing, your voice is going to change a little bit. But I usually, for me, it's like a catchphrase of a given character, like, if it's Mirage from Apex Legends, it's like, "You got bamboozled." If it's Sonic, it's like, "Gotta go fast." It's like these things that you just kind of conjure up, and then you try to think about laughs that are very specific to a character, or the way, just mannerisms and things like that, so you can maybe physically embody the character. as well as just mentally kind of remember. And then honestly, you're a human being. If we're 4 hours into a session, I'll ask them to play me the reference file one more time just to make sure, especially if it's a brand new character where you just started that day. I can tell you 2 hours in, you might go, ooh, we're drifting. We're drifting away from what we all established 2 hours ago that we liked for this character. So it's just, I don't know that there's, I think as a human, you would probably start to marry it. And I mean, go back and listen to like the very first, like during the Tracy Ullman show, Simpsons episodes, as little animated shorts. They don't sound anything like their characters did as we know them now. And that's for myriad reasons. So yeah, it's a challenge. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying. Your line is getting outrageous, so I'm going to definitely make sure I move along. I'll speed off, as a matter of fact. But I just want to thank you.
You gotta go fast.
Okay, so thank you so much for meeting with me and having this time with me.
Girl, you the best, and she love me when I'm in it, and she never be pretending. Nothing is friend. She gon' tell you what she.